We're recording.
videos. Yeah, recording. Excellent. So we're going to get started then. So let's start off with, everyone should know what we do by now. What's the first thing we start our lesson off with? Da-da-da. Not Zach sneezing.
I bless
Israel
you.
moment.
Bless you. I bless you would be nice.
Oh, yeah, bless you would be nice. Sorry.
From the class, thank you very much, Danny, for saying bless you. I'm just kidding. Just because you're the one that I see right now.
Excellent. So our Israel moment this week. Does anybody know what the picture on the left-hand side is? What does it look like to you? Does it look like anything we have today? Can you see what's on it? What do you think is etched on it? What's it made out of? No one. I'm going to start picking on people soon if no one answers. Anything, throw it out there. Is anyone on the chat maybe answering? And I just didn't see. Let's see.
I think it's a fossil.
A fossil. Interesting. A fossil of what?
Fossil fuel.
Anyone? When you carve into a rock, Danielle. Interesting. Okay. Do you know when people used to write on rocks before there was paper? Maybe parchment? Before there was parchment, people used to write on rocks. Anyone want to give a date, an approximate guess? When do you think this whatever it is was from, when it was made, when someone drew on the rock or etched into the rock? Guesses? Just throw any number out there. Okay, so if you 4,000 years ago, well, actually, it is from the 8th century BCE or BC, okay, which is a really, really long time ago. And this was found just this past week in Jerusalem. And it's actually, basically what happened is people, before there was parchment and paper, they used to write things on stone. And this itself was a seal, and on it, it's written in ancient Hebrew, okay? So Hebrew used to look very different to the way we know it today. And this seal actually says on it, King Hezekiah, King Chizkiyahu, who was a king of Judea, who lived during the 8th century. And we read about King Hezekiah, about King Chizkiyahu in the Bible. And it's really incredible because we don't have so much archaeology from the time period of the Bible, usually from the time period after the destruction of the Second Temple, which was already after the Bible was finished. So it's really exciting find, and new things are being found all the time by archaeologists in Israel. And it's a really cool thing that you live in an area that's just so full of history, really, really ancient history. So that's one thing. And another thing that we have in the picture, anyone want to guess where that photo was taken on the right-hand side? I have to say the photographer wasn't very good.
Yes, Danny Kroner.
It kind of looks like a normal store.
Mm-hmm. It's at my local supermarket. So in the local supermarket in Israel, they sell kanukiyot and oil and candles and dreidels and chocolate coins and all that stuff, and it's all on special for Hanukkah. It's a very exciting season. There is vacation as well from school, and you can see Hanukkah in people's windows. It's a really special time to be in Israel. And actually, someone was telling me this week that they actually were a bit concerned for some people living in different countries that they don't feel safe lighting the Hanukkah, and that's a really sad thing. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? All I can say is that I feel very lucky that here in Israel we can light our Hanukkah candles, not worrying about what other people are going to say or do. It's quite a special thing. So we're going to move on, I think. Unless you want to say anything about that. Does anyone want to say anything about that?
Yes, Rachel.
I just think it's like unfair for them, for like the people who can't celebrate like Hanukkah or anything like that, like because it just doesn't really make sense like why we can't like celebrate our own like religion.
100%.
Like,
definitely. And also Hanukkah, the whole point of Hanukkah is that it's about celebrating our religious freedom, that after the Greeks had forbidden lots of things of our religion, we could then do it again. So definitely, Rachel. Great. So we're going to move on to our lesson now. Zach, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So last week, I'm pretty sure it was last week, we were talking a lot about physical resistance. And before we even get to, and we talked a lot about different examples. We talked about, anyone remember some examples of groups of people who resisted during the Holocaust? Anyone remember one particular group?
The partisans.
Right. Awesome. Who said that?
Fantastic.
Melissa.
Great. Right. The partisans. Anyone remember who was a partisan? That's an example. That's a little bit more specific.
I think Brenda Sanders.
Awesome. Really great. So we have Brenda Sanders. We talked about Mordechai Analevitz. Does anyone remember who that was? The Bielski brothers. Great. Eli. Right. Oh, great. This is so nice to see that everyone remembers. Right. That's physical. It's people who fought physically back. Now, before we continue, I'd like to first ask everyone, what do you think resistance is? What is a good definition of resistance? If you can please type it into the chat box, or if you can please, we'd love to hear some of your voices. You could just unmute yourself and then start speaking. Love to hear from everyone. We need some more people talking on this video. So, what is resistance? Right. So, Dina, not doing what you were told, right? That could be resistance. That could be seen in a classroom, right? Where you don't listen to your teacher, right? Hunter says fighting against. Great.
Excellent.
Let's hear some more answers. Right. So, Nicole, if you could expand on that maybe a little, like talk a little bit more what it means to resist against something, a reason. Great, Adina. Right. So all of these things, it's really going against, and all these answers are really great and they're really true, right? It's basically you have a belief, you're going to fight for it, you're going to fight against it. Now, a lot of the times we see resistance and we see fighting as physical, right? And we started that. Michal and I started this unit on resistance with physical fighting. We talked about partisans. We talked about Mordechai Analevitz, the Bielski brothers, people who fought. Are there other types of resistance besides physical resistance? Maybe you could chat that in the box or you could talk it out loud. Is there anything else? So we define resistance as fighting for something that you believe in, you know it's right, and you go against sort of like the main accepted ideas. What do you think about, are there other ways to fight? Awesome. So Melissa, an example, give peaceful, verbal. Okay. Let's continue. Economic. Would love to hear someone over over the microphone or the video chat or whatever you call it?
You could economically, you could purposely not buy certain things.
That's very interesting. Not to get into too much detail, but there's actually a Jewish law that there's certain things that people do that are so bad that, like, let's say if someone owns a business, for example, and he does something that is really considered bad, and I won't go into details what that is, then what they do is they actually prevent people from buying and purchasing from them as a way to get them to do good again. So that was a great answer, Daniel Fuchs. You have an answer?
Uh,
You unmuted
maybe
yourself.
like you can blockade some certain like territories, like they're not allowed to go in there.
Okay, right, but that's a little bit physical, right? Because you're still using your might,
Oh, okay.
right? But I understand what you're saying. You're also talking about boycotting, right? I heard that
Oh
word
yeah.
come out first, right? That's a good word, right? Not purchasing, that brings it back to economic. So we see here resistance. Everyone sort of knows what the idea is, but we're going to see is that there's a lot of different types of resistance. And last week where we focused on physical and fighting, this week we're going to focus on a little bit different, but no less important. And in even some ways, maybe even a little bit more important. Michal.
Great. Okay, so we're going to start off with a thing link, which is something that we've done before. And we're going to talk about what were the goals of the Nazis and how that connects to Jewish resistance. So first what we're going to ask you is to go to this finger link. I'm going to put, Zach's already put the link in the box. I'm just going to show you quickly. There are two different colors on the thing link. I want you to look at the blue circles. The blue circles have to do with goal number 1. And when you finish reading and looking at the pictures of goal number 1, I would like you to please write in the chat box what that goal was, what those two things represent about the Nazis. What was one of their goals according to those blue circles, according to the information you read there? Okay? If you have any problems, let me know. Danny, you want to explain what you were saying?
I mean, like, they lured him into something that was good, in quotes, because I guess they said, like, Hitler's gonna help us, Hitler's gonna make us better, and then the Jews thought it was gonna be a good thing, but they killed the Jews. And then the Jews thought it was just, and then they didn't know a thing, the Jews.
Oh, so you're explaining why the Jews maybe didn't resist, right? Because
Yeah,
they didn't know what was waiting for them. Okay. But what I want to know a bit more about the Einsatzgruppen. Have you heard of them before?
ISIS?
Look, no, I'm so bad at saying it. Einsatzgruppen. Okay,
No.
Einsatzgruppen. They were on the thing link on the second circle.
Oh, let me see.
Picture of two lightning bolts. That's their symbol, and underneath it explains who they were and what they did. Just while you're looking at it, I want to tell you something interesting I just actually heard on a podcast by this really cool, new, interesting Holocaust author or researcher, that actually the majority of the Jews were not killed in concentration camps. Because concentration camps, before there were concentration camps, there was the Einsatzgruppen. And these people basically just shot Jews and buried them in very large pits. And there are lots of pits like that all over Europe. And people go and visit them today. But that's how it started, this whole killing. The idea of killing the Jews started with this Einsatzgruppen, which the point of them, they were mobile killing units, as in they went around and their goal was to kill. And what's really interesting is that everyone thinks that most people died in concentration camps, but really a lot of the Jews were sent to death camps where they didn't even, what's the point of a concentration camp or a slave labor camp? That you sleep overnight. A lot of Jews were taken to death camps where they didn't even know, they didn't even get to sleep that night. They were taken straight to their deaths after, which was very interesting. So yes, as you all said, the first goal of the Nazis was to kill them, to kill the Jews. And does anyone know what the Nazis used, what term they used to say that they wanted to kill the Jews? There's like two words. If you have a problem, you need it. What do you need to do? The Jews were a problem, so they needed to do what to the problem? And something called the final solution, okay? The final solution, the aim was to put an end to the Jewish problem. In other words, to kill the Jews. So
It was called the final solution, right? The idea to kill and murder all the Jewish people, it was called the final solution. Sorry, Michal, just to clarify.
yeah, no worries. Great. Okay, so we're going to, now that we've seen the first goal of the Nazis, what we're going to do is ask you a polling question.
So what's important here is to understand, when we talk about resistance, the question is what is actually resisting, right? People, like, if I give a example of you guys, like if a teacher in class tells you something and you don't listen, is that resisting? Or is someone, like, if so a teacher tells you something in class and they get up and they say something to the teacher, is that resisting? So if we know, right, and I wanna show everyone this, if everybody could please go on check this poll. The question really is about what you just learned. If the whole purpose of what the Nazis were trying to do in the final solution was to murder off the Jews, then would you say that just surviving is resistance? Right? And okay, so Melissa, you answered. That's great. Love for you to give your opinion here also. But if everybody could please go to this poll, and we'll check it here. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I'm doing this right. Yeah. So this is everybody. Everybody can see this. Let's see how people are going. Right. So if resistance is going against the rules, and the Nazis' goal was to kill the Jews, then is survival an act of resistance? And I'd love to hear people's opinions. Would love to. Love to hear you explain yourself, because right here I just see a yes, no, or maybe.
I think it was resistance because they're resisting death. Like they're hiding out in the woods, trying not to die, and so they're resisting torture and death.
Right. There was okay, interesting, very interesting. Let's hear some from some other people. Let's see, who else do we have? Melissa, your mute button's off. What do you think?
Yeah, I was trying to think of what to say. I think they definitely were resisting, like agreeing with Daniel, because they still, even if they didn't like actually fight them and like didn't fight themselves, I think one, like they did resist death and torture and all the cruelty from the Nazis, and also like almost represented the other Jews who did die fighting for them.
Okay, interesting. So you sort of look at it just because they didn't actually fight or join a partisan group, that doesn't mean it's not resistance. Jacob, is your mute on? Oh, Jacob, sorry. Let's see who else. Hey, anyone else would like to share their opinion? Let's see. No? Love to hear. So we have 11 votes and 3 maybes. I would love to hear from a maybe, because that's going a bit against, and I'd love to hear your opinion. So anyone who voted maybe, can you explain maybe why? Who's talking?
Well, Nicole.
Okay, Nicole, great.
Well, I voted maybe because, well, yes, they were like surviving, but like some of them resisted and some of them didn't. And, like I only thought some of them resisted because, when they like fought back. But if you were just sent to a concentration camp or something, or a death camp, and you just got lucky, then that isn't really resisting. Like you didn't try to stop it.
So I really appreciate that, because that clearly isn't the way that most of the people answered. So that's like a real big discussion, right? About what's considered resistance. Like, did someone who was just by themselves? Okay, you're right, lucky. My grandfather's a survivor of his entire family. He was one of 2 that survived. He always says he was lucky. It was, nothing about him, nothing that he did or made it special for him to survive. So that's definitely an interesting take that Nicole shared, that we're going to expand a little bit. Now we're going to talk about that a little bit more, about, okay, someone who didn't fight, does that mean that they still could have resisted? Are there other ways to resist besides just physical fighting? So I want to just read what Melissa wrote. She wrote, I agree with Nicole, but I still think that they were resisting because no one was happy about this cruelty and torture, and I do not think that anyone accepted it. Right? Great. Thank you very much. I love this type of conversation, because what really gets the conversation going. So Michal's going to explain a very famous quote by a very famous Jewish Holocaust survivor, I think. Correct. Yes. Michal?
First of all, who wants to read it? First come, first serve.
Whoever unmutes himself first and goes.
Starts reading.
Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude and any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Victor E. Frankl.
Excellent. So, what do you think he's saying here? How did they resist, according to Viktor Frankl? Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing. No one can take.
Their
Yeah.
attitude.
Okay. Meaning.
Means like if you think of the good things, like you're not a negative person, like we're gonna get through this, we're gonna get through this. They're the ones that will survive.
Very interesting. I don't know if he's saying that those are the people who will survive, but he's saying no one can take away the way you think about things. Even if you're in the most difficult situation, only you can control how you're going to act and how you're going to feel and how you're going to think about the situation that you're in. So even though you're in this terrible situation and they're forcing you to be in this terrible situation, you can. Has anyone seen the movie A Beautiful Life? I think it's called that, right? It's a Holocaust movie where with a father and son. It's not called that. It's called something else. Life is Beautiful. Sorry. Life is Beautiful with a father and son. Very highly recommended. Where the father basically has this imaginary world, so his son doesn't even realize what kind of situation they're in. And really, it shows that your mind mentally resisting, as Eli said, is extremely important here. So we're going to go back now to the thing link that we went to at the beginning. So we'll put the link in the chat box again. And I want you to look at the red circles this time. So some of you may have already looked at them. And tell us in the chat box, what was the second goal, what was another goal of the Nazis that we're going to look at today? According to all those different points that you're going to see there, what do you think they all say about what the Nazis wanted to do to the Jews? Thank you, Zach, for putting in the link. Everyone can go to that link now. You're coming up with some fantastic answers. Wow. What does it mean when someone just ignores your actual name and puts any name next to your name? How do they think of you?
It means like you're just like a number, and like you're not like a person who's like has feelings and that kind of thing. So I think like just calling them like by a number and that kind of stuff one like really lowered their self-esteem and like almost made them start believing what the Nazis were saying all along.
100%. And what about that photo where there were of that woman in the prison clothing? What was interesting there? What did they do to her? Maybe one photo is a before and one is an after. What's different? Excellent, Sarah. Fantastic. Do you want to
She
elaborate? Hang on, sorry, 1 second. Sarah, do you want to elaborate? Talking?
basically wanted to shave her head to make her feel like not pretty and not wanted, like she's not worth it or anything.
Okay, and did they only shave her head?
Well, they probably shaved other people's heads too.
They shaved everyone's heads. That was one of the first things that happened when you got to a concentration camp, that they shaved your head and put you into, what was she wearing? Everyone looked the same, right? It's like, it looks a bit like pajamas, like the boy in striped pajamas, but really it was the uniform that they had to wear. They all looked exactly the same. They all had shaved heads. They all had the same uniform. They were all supposed to be exactly the same because one person didn't matter more than another person. They were just numbers. Now, can anyone think of, I'm thinking of one word that has to do with this goal of the Nazis. A lot of you mentioned it already.
Unique, sort of. No one's unique.
No one's unique. Okay, keep thinking. It was actually something that you said, I think, about being
Caged.
human. The opposite of being human, being like animals.
Unhuman.
Dehumanized.
Oh.
Excellent. Okay, dehumanized. The Nazis' goal with all these
guys
things
really
was to
pretty.
dehumanize the Jews. Sorry, Sarah? No, the Nazis' goal was to dehumanize the Jews. Okay, what does that mean? To get rid of anything that made them human. So what makes people human?
They're sort of free. They have their own rights, like they can wear whatever they want. They can put their hair in whatever they want. Something like that.
They can be unique. They can be
Yeah.
different. They don't have to be all the same. And they can have their own thoughts and they can make their own things and they can be in charge of themselves. Excellent. So what we're going to do now is we are going to look at 5 different types of areas in which Jews resisted. How did they resist? What did they do? The Nazis wanted to dehumanize the Jews. So the Jews actually made themselves human. They did things that made themselves feel human, whether it was in art or education, documentation, humanity, or religion. All these things made them feel human and not like they were worthless animals, really. Okay, it was for them, even though maybe it didn't make a difference because the Nazis didn't care whether they were making art or anything like that. It made a difference for them, for how they felt. And they were resisting the Nazis because the Nazis wanted them to be inhumane, and they were being humane, or they were doing something to make themselves feel human. So, Zach, do you want to explain what we're going to do?
Yes. Okay. So this is what everybody received a email for today. Okay. This is what the end product is going to start to look like, but I need everyone to pay attention. Michal's going to put in the chat box this Google spreadsheet. You want to share your screen again, Michal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I can share it. It's fine. Okay, I'll share. Everyone's going to see this. if your last name starts with an A to F, G to L, M to R, S to X, Y to Z, if your last name starts with that, then you're clicking on these links. You're not working on this in groups. You're working this by yourself, but the way that we've split you up into 5 distinct groups based on your last names, but it's individual work. So what you're going to do is you're going to click. So let's say if we take the first one, and the way that we talk about resistance here is through art. So we're going to click on this link, and that takes you to here. Every slide, every one of you, whichever your name is, has your own slideshow. What we provided for you were instructions, which I'll get to in a second, and then 2 slides that have pictures, information, and 1 slide that has a video, which you can click right on the YouTube video. Okay, great. What are the instructions?
Hang on, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, just a thing about the video. To watch the video, you have to click on present on the Google Slides, and then it'll work. Otherwise, it won't work. So click on present, and then click on the little video in the corner.
Great, thank you. So the instructions are this. So we want you to read and watch the information provided in this Google slideshow about your topic. This is your topic, not anybody else's. So if you're A to F, that's your last name, then you're doing that. You're not doing what G to H or whatever anyone else is doing. Okay, after you do that, I want you to go to Coggle, which is going to take you to, oh, I just got rid of it, my bad. Which is going to take you to here, okay? It's going to take you to this site. It's coming, okay? This site, if you even look on the top, all of you are connected. I sent out like 40 emails today, okay? What we're going to ask everybody to do is whichever strand you're on. So the question is, how did the Jews spiritually resist? So we talked before about physical resistance, and we spoke about whether surviving is just resistance, and we sort of focused on surviving is because that was really hard, but maybe surviving is not because you're not really doing anything. What Michal and I are trying to put forth here is that if you didn't fight back, and what we got from this Viktor Frankl quote is there are different types of resistance that did not mean fighting and were just as important. So we have humanity, we have religion, art, which we'll talk about, education, documentation. So on this, we would like you to add, depending on which one you are. If you had the education slide, then you're only working on the education slide. If you're on the documentation slide, only on that. And what we'd like you to do is add either the information which you saw in your Google slide, which I can't find, right? What's this or this, or whichever slideshow you're in, and you're just going to add to it. And every person, and that way by the end, everyone's going to be able to see what was written here, and everyone's going to be able to see so much and learn so much about how the Jews spiritually resisted. Don't click on anything that's not yours, meaning if your religion, don't click on. Go and click on humanity. All right, thank you.
Okay, so somehow we ended up having a lot of people in art.
Right. Are there a lot of Fs, A to Fs?
If anyone from art wants to move to religion, that would be good. There's only 2 people in religion. So you're welcome to do that if you would like. In the meantime, we're giving you about, how long, Zach?
We'll say
4
10
or 5
minutes. 8.
Oh.
We'll say, let's start with 8. Let's start with 8 to 10 minutes.
Cool. Put on a timer.
Because we would also like for you guys to additionally look at other things. Meaning if you have time, you read and read these, but also you'll see on the instructions, I've added information here we've added information that you can go on. You can Google something yourselves.
letting me watch the video. How do I watch it?
Click on present on the top right-hand screen of the Google Slides. You see that?
Yeah.
And then you should be able to click on the video.
Okay, thanks.
Don't forget to mute yourselves when you're watching a video.
Okay, just to clarify for everyone, the instructions on the first slide of your Google slideshow has the link which will take you to the Kaggle. I'll share my screen just to show everyone. Right over here. This takes you there.
I know you said to like drag your mouse over it, but I still can't get it to I don't see the plus.
Yes, same with me.
Hang on 1 second.
Try to go to the end of like the strand.
Yeah, I'm doing that, but nothing's showing up really.
Everybody should be able to, like, if you go to the end of the strand.
Just put the mouse gently over it.
Yeah, it's over. Nothing's happening.
Do you want to maybe put your just we'll write in the chat box. Hang on a second.
Here, you
Okay.
can. Here, I'll show. Like, if look what's happening to mine. If I put this, like, if I'm here in the middle, it's not working. But if I go to the
Yeah,
end,
I put it at the end. Nothing showed up.
Yeah, same here.
Let's just continue this conversation on chat so we're not interrupting when people are watching their videos. Okay. We want you to get on the cockle, but we don't want to interrupt anyone.
okay. Let's say we have 1 minute left. We're getting some good answers here. If you can put in a picture or a video, even if the ones that you saw on our Google Docs, because you may have seen it, but others may have not seen it, that's also fine.
How do you get to comment on the things?
You could, by comment, you could just add a plus sign and then comment on someone.
Okay, thank you.
One of the other things you can do is you can comment on it if you right click on the plus sign. There's a little parentheses that says comment on this, and then you can comment on the side.
Okay. All right. So looks like this is taking longer, and that's fine.
So far we have someone who's responded for art, someone who's responded for documentation. We need some people with education, humanity, religion. Oh, Melissa, great.
Are people not doing the work because you're still reading, or because you're also writing here? Writing here. Okay. If you're able to write on Kaggle, please do so also.
It won't let me type in Kaggle.
All right, we're gonna look into that, but that's fine. So you can just write in the text box.
Okay.
So those of you who are doing work on humanity, Fagi Izakah was my grandmother.
Yeah, I was doing humanity, but the text box wasn't the box. So.
You're coming up with such fantastic answers. Really incredible to see how you're taking what you've learned and really thinking about it.
All right. Michal,
Yeah, we're going to finish up.
yeah.
Okay. I think you've learned a lot about different ways that people survived the Holocaust by or maybe didn't survive the Holocaust. Different ways that people resisted during the Holocaust and in some way kept their humanity, despite the fact that the Nazis tried and achieved a lot of what they wanted to do in terms of dehumanizing the Jews, in terms of taking away who they were as people. But a lot of the Jews held on to who they were, whether it was from showing that they were human still and caring about other people, or whether it was with keeping religion even though it was difficult, or documenting what they went through for generations to come, or doing something that the Nazis said but changing it a little bit so to resist the Nazis. So many different things that people did to resist the Nazis, more than just physically resisting. So when we say there was a whole cult of people who said that only physical resistance was really one of the way to go. Well, that's something to think about. Was this just as important as physical resistance? Did it actually achieve anything, or was it just for the people themselves? So this week's independent exercise is exactly that. We're going to post the link in the chat box, and what you're going to do is you're going to answer that question. What is better, or what is more practical, what has more of a result? Is it better to physically resist the Nazis or spiritually resist the Nazis, and why? So you're going to write next your name on the Google spreadsheet, write your answer, and we'd love to hear from you, what you have to say about that. We want to just leave you with, hang on, oh, thank you, Zach, with hang on, sorry guys, with two pictures from about Hanukkah and the Holocaust. And these two pictures, the one on the left was taken during the Holocaust at a deportation camp in Holland. And you can see that the lady on the front and some others also have Jewish stars sewn onto their clothing. And yet, despite this, they're still celebrating Hanukkah. And then, so that's this type of spiritual resistance. And on the right-hand side, you have a photo of after the war in Greece, children celebrating Hanukkah. And I think it's really amazing to see that despite the crazy, unimaginable things that they were going through during the Holocaust, maybe it was even helped them by trying to maintain their usual things, by trying to light Hanukkah candles. It helped them to kind of deal with what they were going through, that at least some things stayed the same. And it's pretty amazing when we light the Hanukkah candles today and we can light them without worrying about what someone's going to do to us, especially to the extent that the Nazis did, and that this tradition continued despite all the difficulties that people faced. So we want to wish you a very happy Hanukkah. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And please do the independent exercise, which we've put in the chat box, and we'll send you in an email, follow-up email with the recording for whoever was not able to make it. So thank you all. You were great today.
Hanukkah Sameach.